The ultimate luxury is not access. It is the ability to be unreachable. In a hyper-connected world, availability is the default. Messages arrive instantly. Obligations multiply. Visibility is constant. But at the highest levels of wealth, constant availability becomes liability. Control of access becomes power. Time sovereignty, the real dividend of wealth. For most people, wealth represents financial freedom. It's a powerful, aspirational goal, the ability to live without the constant pressure of debt, to afford comfort, and to escape the rigid structure of a 9-to-5 existence. It is, in essence, freedom, the ordinary obligations that define the majority of lives. But this is merely the first tier of autonomy. For ultra-high net worth individuals, the conversation shifts from financial freedom to a far more profound and elusive concept: time sovereignty. This isn't about having more leisure time, it's about achieving absolute command over one's own temporal existence. It is the ultimate, non-negotiable luxury. As one's influence and assets grow, the demands on their time expand exponentially, making time itself the scarcest and most valuable commodity they possess. Time sovereignty is the strategic defense of this asset. It manifests first as the ability to decide when to engage. This is a deliberate act of curation, choosing precisely which opportunities, meetings, and even social interactions are worthy of one's attention. It means operating on a schedule dictated by personal priority, not external demand. The world can wait. It is also the power to decide when to respond. In a hyper-connected world that rewards instant availability, the true signifier of power is the freedom to be unavailable. It's the quiet confidence to let calls go to voicemail and emails to remain unanswered, knowing that this delay filters out the trivial and amplifies the importance of one's eventual reply. This is a core tenet of discretion protocols, where silence is not absence, but a tool of control. And most critically, it is the freedom to decide when to disappear. Not just to go on holiday, but to become truly unreachable, to disconnect from the grid on one's own terms, for any length of time. This is the ultimate expression of autonomy, the ability to step outside the flow of global commerce and communication, rendering oneself invisible to all but a trusted few. In the pursuit of this sovereignty, strategic travel becomes one of the most effective tools for reclaiming that autonomy. It is no longer about tourism, it is about engineering an environment of absolute control and privacy, far from the public gaze. The infrastructure of ultra-luxury travel is designed not for comfort, but for the seamless preservation of time and discretion. Private jets eliminate terminals, queues, and the entire apparatus of commercial aviation. They operate from private airfields, on a schedule that is fluid and entirely bespoke. A flight is not a scheduled event to be attended, but a personal utility to be summoned, saving not just hours, but the cognitive load of navigating public systems. Helipads bypass public arrivals and ground traffic altogether. They facilitate point-to-point transit, connecting skyscraper rooftops to country estates or super yachts, turning a city into a private chessboard where every move is direct and efficient. The journey from aircraft to destination becomes a single, uninterrupted corridor of privacy, and remote villas replace hotel lobbies. The modern palace is not a penthouse in a city center, but a fully staffed, technologically fortified compound in an inaccessible location. Here, the hospitality model shifts from service to invisibility. The staff are trained to be preemptive yet unseen, creating an ecosystem where every need is met before it is articulated, ensuring the guest's time is spent only on what they choose. This is the architecture of time sovereignty. The architecture of travel is redesigned around selective availability. Behavioral economics frames this as investing in non-fungible time. Money can be regained, attention cannot. The wealthy protect the latter more aggressively. Psychological safety, privacy as infrastructure. Constant visibility erodes psychological safety. Public spaces introduce unpredictability. Digital footprints introduce traceability. High-profile individuals operate under reputational risk. Unreachability reduces exposure. Private villas, full property buyouts, staff bound by non-disclosure agreements. These are not indulgences, they are infrastructure. Neuroscience supports this instinct. Extended detachment from scrutiny lowers cortisol. Novel environments increase dopamine. Cognitive flexibility improves. Studies show that restoration effects can last weeks beyond the trip itself. For executives operating at sustained intensity, this is not luxury. It is maintenance. As wealth increases, financial risk declines. Reputational risk increases. Visibility invites imitation. Imitation invites scrutiny. Scrutiny invites vulnerability. Strategic absence protects leverage. Many UHNW travelers avoid traceable bookings. Digital footprints are minimized. Transactions are coded. Exposure is controlled. This discretion reflects a broader wealth psychology shift. Influence grows strongest when it is not constantly displayed. Boundary control, authority through limitation. Boundary setting psychology explains another layer of how authority is constructed, not just claimed. Beyond the overt displays of wealth lies a more subtle architecture of influence, built upon the principle of strategic inaccessibility. This isn't about hiding away, it's about curating presence. It's the deliberate calibration of who gets access, when, and under what conditions. The most powerful boundaries are not walls of brick, but walls of protocol. They are invisible, yet deeply felt, shaping every interaction before it even begins. This is the art of controlling the frame, ensuring that any engagement happens on terms you have already set. Those who control access control interaction. Every gatekeeper, from the executive assistant managing a calendar to the doorman at a private club, serves as an extension of this principle. They are not merely obstacles, they are the first line of a carefully constructed narrative. Their role is to filter, to buffer, and to qualify. By managing the flow of people and information, they create a zone of control around the individual at the center. This buffer doesn't just manage time, it establishes a clear status differential. The very act of needing to go through a gatekeeper reinforces the importance of the person being guarded. Those who control interaction control narrative. By dictating the terms of engagement, the powerful shape the story that is told about them. A meeting that is difficult to secure is perceived as more significant. An opinion offered sparingly is granted more weight. This control over narrative extends beyond professional life. It is woven into the fabric of elite social circles, where invitations are currency and presence is a statement. Being seen in the right place is important, but being conspicuously absent can be even more powerful, sparking speculation and reinforcing an image of being in demand elsewhere. Unreachability reinforces hierarchy. In a world of constant connectivity, the ability to be disconnected is the ultimate status symbol. It signals that one operates on a plane where they are not beholden to the immediate demands of others. This physical and digital distance creates a mystique, a sense of a world apart. The private island, the unlisted number, the social media blackout, these are modern-day moats and castle walls. They don't just provide privacy, they broadcast a message of self-sufficiency and sovereignty. It signals that time is scarce and must be earned. This is the core of time sovereignty, the freedom to allocate one's own attention. For most, time is a resource sold to others. For the elite, it is a possession to be guarded. Access to this time is therefore not a right, but a privilege granted. It transforms a simple meeting from a logistical arrangement into a validation of the other person's importance. To be granted an audience is to be told that you are worth the most valuable asset they have. In social hierarchies, availability often implies lower rank. Constant accessibility suggests a lack of demand, a need to be readily available for opportunities. Conversely, managed scarcity implies that one's time and attention are already fully subscribed. This dynamic is a fundamental aspect of signaling theory. The less available you are, the more valuable your availability becomes. It's a paradox. The harder you are to reach, the more people want to reach you. Scarcity of access increases perceived importance. This principle is the engine of luxury branding, and it applies equally to people. When access is limited, it triggers a psychological desire for inclusion. The exclusive event, the members-only club, the off-market deal. Their value is derived not just from their intrinsic quality, but from the fact that they are not for everyone. Being granted entry is a powerful affirmation of one's own status. Leaders who cannot be casually contacted command greater deference. This is not about arrogance, it is about operational efficiency and psychological positioning. A leader who is constantly interrupted cannot engage in deep, strategic thought. The protocols of access, the layers of assistance and scheduled appointments, are a functional necessity. But they have a secondary effect. They institutionalize respect. They force others to be more prepared, more concise, and more deliberate in their interactions, reinforcing the leader's authority with every carefully planned encounter. This principle applies to travel as well. Luxury hospitality has adapted accordingly. Opt-in services replace constant check-ins. Private entrances replace central lobbies. Spaces are designed to allow presence without interruption. Absence becomes intentional. Attention is the most finite resource in modern society. Those who ration it signal abundance of opportunity. Controlled absence increases impact. When an unreachable individual reappears, their presence carries weight. Scarcity amplifies value. This is signaling theory in practice. Costly signals must involve sacrifice. Forgoing constant connectivity is one such sacrifice. It communicates power. Constant exposure produces fatigue, not only socially but neurologically. Sustained vigilance depletes executive resources. Strategic withdrawal restores them. Travel becomes a structured interruption, a designed disappearance, not to escape responsibility, but to recalibrate authority. Scarcity heuristics explain why absence increases perceived value. It's a fundamental principle of human psychology. We are hardwired to desire what is rare, what is fleeting, what is just beyond our grasp. In a world saturated with digital noise and constant connectivity, the ultimate scarcity is no longer a material object, but an intangible state, true, uninterrupted privacy. The less something is seen, the more it is coveted. This is a fundamental shift from the age of mass media and social sharing, where value was once measured by visibility. When access is limited, desire intensifies. This principle governs the new architecture of elite life. It's not about building higher walls, but about creating deeper layers of separation. The gate is no longer just a physical barrier, it is a symbol of a carefully curated world, one that operates on its own terms, shielded from public view. Access is granted not through wealth alone, but through trust, reputation, and an unspoken understanding of discretion. This is the first layer of the new luxury, the power to control who and what enters your world. In wealth culture, exclusivity increasingly emerges through invisibility. The old paradigm of conspicuous consumption, flaunting logos, broadcasting acquisitions, has been replaced by a more subtle and potent form of signaling. This is the realm of stealth wealth, where the most powerful statements are made through what is absent. The unbranded cashmere sweater, the art collection seen only by a select few, the private jet that bypasses public terminals entirely. These are signals legible only to a specific in-group, a silent language of status that prioritizes quiet confidence over loud declaration. It's a strategic retreat from the mainstream gaze, a deliberate choice to become unsearchable, untraceable. The rarest experience is not the most photographed. In an era where every moment is captured and shared, the ultimate luxury is an experience that exists only in memory. It is the private beach without a single footprint, the ancient ruin visited after hours, the meal prepared by a world-renowned chef in the seclusion of your own home. These moments derive their value precisely from their ephemerality and their privacy. They are not for public consumption. They are not content to be monetized or leveraged for social capital. Their sole purpose is the experience itself, unmediated and unobserved. It is the least accessible. Accessibility has become the new metric of luxury. The most coveted destinations are not those with 5-star ratings, but those with no public entry points. The private helipad, the secluded deep water dock, the unmarked airstrip, these are the modern gateways to true exclusivity. They represent a mastery over logistics, space, and, most importantly, time. This is time sovereignty, the ability to move through the world on your own schedule, bypassing the friction and delays of public infrastructure. It is the freedom to be anywhere and yet remain entirely out of sight. Private islands, invitation-only retreats, underground arrivals, experiences without public trace. This is the ecosystem of the new elite, a world built on discretion protocols and the architecture of disappearance. It is a deliberate and strategic withdrawal, a curation of life where the ultimate status symbol is not what you own, but what you can control. Your time, your privacy, and your exposure to the world. The less visible they are, the more valuable they become. There was a time when wealth meant being seen. Now it often means being shielded. Visibility once demonstrated success. Today, it can undermine it. Modern luxury increasingly prioritizes selective disappearance. Unreachability signals calm control. It communicates that obligations do not dictate movement, that presence is deliberate, that access is curated. The ultimate luxury is not access, it is the freedom to withdraw, to choose when to engage, to decide who sees you. At the highest levels, wealth is no longer about visibility, it is about sovereignty. And sovereignty begins with the power to be unreachable.